ammonia. With urea, excretory waste material, urea. Animals who are excreting urea are called as? Yeah, ureotelic animal. The feature called ureotelism. So the way we wrote here, we'll write the same here. What we have to write for there, we wrote highly toxic here. Moderately toxic. Okay. Then require
Moderate
amount of
moderate
water.
amount of water. Okay. Require moderate amount of water. Okay. Then energy.
required energy required.
Less amount. Moderate amount of energy required. Moderate amount of energy required. We can say here moderate amount of energy required. Okay. Then this is the case that we are talking about. Ammonotelism is over. Ureotelism are ureotelic animals. So this is what we can say terrestrial adaptation. Whenever the aquatic organisms are adapted to the terrestrial condition, they don't get that much amount of water. Okay. So that's why the new conditions came, urea and uric acid came because of that condition only. Because of that situation only. Ureotelism and uricotelism is an adaptation for the organisms or adapted from whose evolution happened from the aquatic conditions to the terrestrial conditions. So simply we can say that eliminating urea and eliminating uric acid both are going to be terrestrial adaptation, we can say. Particularly uric acid, if you want to say, that is going to be a desert adaptation. Okay, so examples. That comparatively less toxic or moderately toxic, we said compare with ammonia. So examples for ureotelic animals. So first of all, we have to write mammals. We should go with mammals. Okay. Yeah, all mammals excrete urea as an excretory waste material. We are going to say mammals. Many terrestrial amphibians, that where aquatic amphibians may excrete ammonia, but terrestrial amphibians are going to eliminate urea as an excretory material. Okay, many terrestrial amphibians and marine fishes. That means we can say cartilaginous fishes. Most cartilaginous fishes are going to be in marine water. That most, we are not going to say all. That we say they are all going to be excrete urea as an excretory waste material. That urea as an excretory waste material. Okay, just will make some small margin here that to understand. Now let's talk about animals excreting uric acid, and let us write that also here. Conversion of the ammonia into urea or formation of urea. Where does it occur? Formation of urea? Liver. What do you call that feature? Conversion of ammonia into urea.
Cycle.
Yeah, very good. Ornithine cycle. Okay. So ammonia is produced by metabolism, converted into urea in the liver of these particular ureotelic animals, that released into the blood, which is filtered and excreted out by the kidney. That sequence we made yesterday. That means formation of urea from ammonia. So ammonia to urea formation we call ornithine cycle. So that means first of all we'll bring amines into liver. We convert there in the form of urea, and through the blood, via blood vessel, will send into the excretory organ called kidney. This is what we are seeing as a sequence yesterday, isn't it? Then, so some amount of urea will retain in the kidney matrix, in the tissue fluid of kidney, that in animals to maintain the osmolarity gradient. Here, this is a bigger word, this is a bigger statement. Some amount of urea
Sharp, no sir.
retained, retained by organisms. Retained by organisms. Yeah, shark also, even human beings that we are talking about.
Yes, sir.
Now we are saying retained by organisms in the kidney matrix. That means in the fluid of kidney. So how does it happen? What kind of advantage will come over? That all we have to discuss. Okay. So simply now I can say to maintain osmolarity gradient. To maintain osmolarity gradient, simply I can say, but hues we are going to discuss in the coming topic about this particular area. Okay, now let's talk about uric acid. Okay, uric acid. Animals are eliminating uric acid as an excretory material. What do you call them as? Uricotelic animals. Animals are excreting uricotelic. You see the difference. Ureotelism and uricotelism. Uricotelic animals. We say them as uricotelic animals. Let us write examples first. Reptiles, birds, reptiles, birds, land snails. Need to remember all examples here. We'll get in the form of math the following. And insecta, class insecta. Okay, just need to see the difference. Aquatic insects eliminate ammonia. Here, remaining all the insects are going to eliminate uric acid as a nitrogenous waste material. Okay, how do they excrete? In the form of pellet. Excrete in the form of pellet. What is the meaning? In the form of pellet. They don't use water. Dry pellets, we can say here. Okay, so small pellets means like the small small pieces like dry pellets. Okay, or you can call it as paste. Only meaning here less amount of water they are using. Consumption of water is less because they are least toxic, which we already said, least toxic, require very less amount of water. Yeah, they require very less amount of water. That's why we call them as minimum loss of water we'll find here. That's why elimination is also in the form of pellets or paste. We can say here in the form of pellets or paste. Okay, so that's it about the primary idea on this particular excretory products and their elimination. We'll get a primary idea here with these by looking towards these. Then, yes.
We are noting it down.
No matter. That I'll send the notes to you. Today itself, I'll send the notes to you. Chal, we have to take a look before we go into the human being, that whole animal kingdom, how does the excretory organs are going to be? What type of excretory organs they have? We have to take a look of all the excretory organs of the organisms. That means, first of all, we came here to discuss excretory products and their elimination in human being, but it's a formality here. From the phylum Porifera onwards, how does the excretory materials are present here? So that can you say that Porifera, phylum Porifera, we call sponges.
Diffusion.
Porifera, diffusion, we can say more than that, you have to use a word called canal system.
Canal
System.
Yeah. Coelenterata, we can say diffusion, and through the mouth. Okay, through diffusion occurs and also eliminated through the mouth. That means they have a single opening. That's why we can say here elimination through diffusion, okay, and also through the mouth. Okay, next, Ctenophora, same we can say here, same that for that wide number. They even have a single opening. That's why we can say here Ctenophora is also through the diffusion and are eliminated through the mouth. Okay, next, just talking about phylum Platyhelminthes onwards, we can see small, simple tubular forms of the Nephridia-like structures. We can see here the structures are simple tubular forms. That if we come to the human being, yeah, if it comes to the vertebrates, more complex forms we can see. But here simple forms like Platyhelminthes, we have Protonephridia, or we can say them as flame cells. You might have heard over these flame cells. Protonephridia or flame cells are present for excretion.
Seen in them.
Flame cells. or protonephridia are present here. That flatworms, platyhelminthes, we can say planaria as an example. Then in case Aschelminthes, here some are not mentioned, but I am going through. Rennet glands are present there. Just remember it as rennet glands. And when it comes to the Annelida, rennet glands are in Aschelminthes. Annelida. When it comes to Annelida, Nephridia plays a major role. If you remember earthworm, Nephridia plays a major role. Arthropoda, Malpighian tubules in the most of the organism, particularly in insects, we can see Malpighian tubules are present. Malpighian tubules, I am writing in bracket. In insecta, Malpighian tubules are going to be the excretory organs. Along with Malpighian tubules in the phylum Arthropoda itself, remember this is a very important one. In phylum Arthropoda itself, we can see antennal glands or green glands are present. Antennal glands or green glands are present, which perform the excretory organs, which as an excretory organs, particularly here we are talking about the crustaceans. That means in case of crustacean means at least we need to know one
Yes,
example, prawns.
Yes.
Prawns and crabs likewise, crustaceans like prawns will find. Insecta, we know cockroach is an insect here. Okay, so Arthropoda likewise. Okay, next, let's go through them. Mollusca, phylum Mollusca. I'm going in order that to understand phylum Mollusca. Actually, nothing is given, but we can say here Mollusca, that organisms of phylum Mollusca even have nephridia. Okay, then Echinodermata. There is a special system, umbilical water vascular system, we can say here, that I will be confused over with canal system. Let's say I am writing here through body surface, we can say here, through body surface. Okay, and in case of that Echinodermata, there is another way, through body surface, they are eliminating. And when it comes to the chordata, urochordates, we say here, urochordates. In case of urochordata, protonephridia are present here. We can say protonephridia, primitive nephridia. Okay, so protonephridia or primitive nephridia are present. Okay, then in the cephalochordata also, cephalochordata. So just I am introducing all the animals, don't get confused over that. Actually, all these will come back again in animal kingdom also when you are learning cephalochordata. In cephalochordata also, that protonephridia, we call them as solenocytes. Solenocytes. Okay, even we call protonephridia, that we'll write on the side here, that solenocytes are primitive nephridia, we call protonephridia as a generalized, we can see. So in the fishes, when it comes to the fishes and amphibians, reptiles, aves, mammals, here that kidneys are present in different levels. What I mean, mesonephridia in case of fishes and in case of amphibian, metanephridia in case of reptiles and aves, mammals, we can say here. Now I can use that means let's make a scale here. Developing the kidney. The kidney is reached maximum in reptilia, aves and mammals. Okay. So what is the advantage of evolution of the kidney, that we'll see in the by taking human being is as an example itself. Okay, let's talk about nephridia. What are nephridia? Nephridia, that when we talk about nephridia are the tubular structures. General word that we use, nephridia, we use it so many times. What are nephridia? They are the tubular excretory structures, tubular structures for excretion, the tube-like structures for excretion. And another important thing you have to remember, osmoregulation. We'll discuss them. We'll discuss about them also. That in case of earthworms and other annelids, we are seeing this. You see this. What are nephridia? Nephridia are the tubular structures for excretion. Okay. Then what is the function of nephridia? Nephridia helpful for we know helpful for removal of nitrogenous wastage. Besides these, they have some more works like maintenance of ionic balance. But whatever the organism it is, maintain fluid and ionic balance, water balance, and ionic balance.
Hemostasis.
Homeostasis. Hemostasis means blood clotting. Homeostasis means that maintenance of water balance. Homeostasis, we have to say it as. Okay, let's see the difference between the two. Hemostasis means that we can say water balance. And what is another one we said? Protonephridia. Let's talk about this also. Protonephridia. Protonephridia are flame cells. Here we need to recognize a regular NCERT statement question where we can't neglect these. Protonephridia are flame cells are the excretory structures of Protonephridia. Actually, it belongs to platyhelminthes only, but we need to remember these NCERT statements also. Excretory structures in phylum Platyhelminthes, like flatworms, we can say phylum animals of phylum Platyhelminthes. Then that rotifers, which I didn't mention in the order, because rotifers are not belongs to major phyla, they are minor phyla. Okay, so rotifera is going to be a phylum itself, minor phyla we can say. Whatever Porifera, Coelenterata, Platyhelminthes we are talking about, they are all major phyla. The rotifer is a group of organisms which won't come into these categories. There are so many like that: rotifera, gastrotricha, echinodera, nematomorpha. Likewise, minor phyla, nearly 30 minor phyla are there that we feel so by learning Porifera, Coelenterata, Platyhelminthes, animal kingdom is over. No, in between them, small phyla are there. We call them as minor phyla. So some will come like this in between. Okay, what is the NCERT statement? Protonephridia are flame cells are the excretory structures in Platyhelminthes, rotifers, some annelids. What is saying? Some annelids and the cephalochordates also. Actually, in different levels, we can call them as protonephridia, but we should not neglect NCERT statement. As I said, general information here, but we should not neglect this NCERT statement here. Cephalochordate like Amphiaxis. Amphiaxis is an example for cephalochordate. Okay, so according to them, protonephridia or flame cells are the excretory structures in Platyhelminthes, rotifer, some annelids, and the cephalochordates like Amphiaxis. This is a statement as it is, you have to remember. That means whether right or wrong, no matter at all. It's given in NCERT as it is a statement to be remembered. Sometimes you may get direct statement. So that's why just I'm presenting the NCERT statement also here. So this is about excretory. This area is not an introduction actually, that we can expect questions even from here. So when I'm saying canal system, this is not out of syllabus. This is there given in animal kingdom. Just mentioning there, I will learn there also, but here also I am going to mention. Any doubts here? Any doubts?
No, sir.
Sure. Then now we can start the human excretory system now. Human excretory system. So that means after all taking a brief of all the organisms, after all remembering all the organisms of the animal kingdom, who is the last animal in the animal kingdom? Who is
Mammals.
Yeah, last phylum in the animal kingdom, Chordata.
Mammals.
Last
Yes, sir.
class,
Chordata.
Mammalia. Last class, and that means last is not the least, last is the highest, highly developed organism. So that's why in human excretory system, we can see maximum. The excretory system of human being contain a pair of kidney. First of all, we can see a pair of kidney. Okay. Then one pair of ureters, a pair of kidney, one pair of ureters are present, and urinary bladder, a single urinary bladder we can see, and opening of urinary bladder into the urethra, likewise. So in that, let us take one after another. First of all, let me go with the kidney. Kidney here, we need to discuss about the kidney. What is the color of the kidney?
Dark brownish red.
Dark brownish.
Dark.
Reddish brown.
Okay, no matter at all. Reddish brown. Reddish brown. What is the shape of the kidney?
Bean shaped.
Bean shape.
Yeah, very good. Bean shaped structure. Kidney shape is bean shape. Color reddish brown. Location of the kidney. Where does it is getting located?
Abdominal
Lower
cavity.
abdominal.
Between the levels of, situated between the levels of last thoracic and third lumbar vertebrae. Actually, this kind of description will be new to you, but definitely when we go to the locomotion and movement chapter, next chapter, that I'll explain cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacral, coccygeal vertebrae. We usually learned there is a vertebral column, isn't it? In our dorsal side, we have a vertebral column like this. So that was
Yes,
in the
sir.
neck region, we call cervical, below thoracic, lumbar, sacral, coccygeal, that we have to talk about. So just I'm not showing all that particular vertebral column issues, that there are 12 thoracic vertebrae. So here what is saying, last thoracic to third lumbar vertebrae. That means near. I'm not saying there is one vertebral column, but that is the location. Location wise, he just trying to say the address based on this particular vertebral column. So reddish brown in color, the bean shaped size, levels of last thoracic and third lumbar vertebrae, the location, kidney is located at, then not above on the vertebral column, where it is exactly close to the, it is close to the dorsal inner wall of abdominal cavity, close to the dorsal inner wall of abdominal cavity, close to the dorsal wall of inner abdominal cavity. The kidney is located there. Okay, next, length of the kidney. Length of the kidney. Each kidney of an adult human measures about 10 to 12 centimeter. 10 to 12 centimeter in length. Width of the kidney. Width is going to be 5 to 7 centimeter. 5 to 7 centimeter width. Thickness of the kidney. Let us write here width, otherwise you'll be confused. Thickness of the kidney. Thickness is going to be 2 to 3 centimeter. Thickness 2 to 3 centimeter. Okay. Then reddish brown in color, bean shaped in shape, level, that location, levels of last thoracic and third lumbar vertebrae, which is close to the dorsal inner wall of the abdominal cavity, 10 to 12 centimeter in length, 5 to 7 centimeter in width, 2 to 3 centimeter in the thickness, and the weight, average weight of the kidney is going to be 120 to 170 grams.
130 grams.
Yeah, 120 to 170 grams weight the kidney measures. Okay, so these are all general information about the kidney. Now let me show you the kidney here. Here it is. bean shaped, we said, we are trying. Okay, towards the center of the inner concave surface of the kidney, there is a notch called hilum. This particular area we are talking about. So I don't show you here hilum. Wait a minute. Let me show you here. Here it is hilum. Okay. So what is the hilum? Where it is? The center of the inner concave surface. That means this is the center and it is outer convex, it is inner convex. Concave, that it is convex surface. And this surface, what do you say? Concave surface. So
Concave.
center of the inner concave surface. Center of the inner concave surface. What is present? There is a notch. Notch called hilum. This is the notch. Here we are talking about this particular area. Let me change the color. Here it is the area we are talking about. Hilum. Okay. So this particular hilum is a having a broad funnel shaped space. Here in this particular area we are talking about. I'll write here only. Okay, that means a broad funnel shaped space we call renal pelvis. This particular space we say renal pelvis. Okay, for that let me come here. This outer portion of the kidney we say cortex, and inner portion is said to be medulla. The
Medulla.
green one which I am showing here, that you need to understand it as a medulla. Okay. So how does the medulla is seen over? Medulla is seen in the form of renal pyramids. Medulla is seen in the form of renal pyramids. What all these are? Renal pyramids. We can say these are renal pyramids. Okay. So in front of these particular renal pyramids, we'll find small spaces. I think you can see. What do you call that small spaces? Calyces. The small spaces we say calyces. Okay. Then now let's see here. All the calyces opens into the space we say calyces.
Pelvis.
Yeah, renal pelvis.
Pelvis.
Yeah. Now you can understand NCERT text now. What the NCERT text is saying, the particular renal pelvis, they started story from here. Okay, so there is a notch we call hilum. Then after that inner to the hilum is a broad funnel shape. Who is broad funnel shaped?
Pelvis.
Yeah, renal pelvis. Broad funnel shape. Means whom is addressing? Renal pelvis. Space called renal, that funnel shaped space we call renal pelvis, with projections called calyces. Now how I said, in front of the every renal pyramid there is a space. What is the space called? Calyces.
Cal-
All the calyces opens into,
Renal pelvis.
yeah, that's it. All the what is this violet line which I am drawing here?
Ureter.
Yeah,
Ureter.
ureter. This is ureter. Okay. So then outer layer of the kidney. What do you say the outer layer of the kidney?
Cortex.
Outer layer of the kidney, which is made up of dense fibrous connective tissue sheath. Irregular dense fibrous connective tissue sheath it is. Okay. So that means kidney is covered by a tough capsule, which is made up of irregular dense fibrous connective tissue, which inside we have two portions. There are two zones. What are the two zones? Outer zone of the kidney is called cortex. Inner zone of the kidney is called medulla. Inner zone of the kidney is called medulla. Medulla represented in the form of renal pyramids. Means what I am saying here, medulla nothing but renal pyramids. Medulla contain renal pyramids, you say, or whatever the particular conical masses which are present here, we call them as medulla or medullary pyramids, you can say. Medullary pyramids are projected in the form of Hmm.
Calyces.
Yeah, calyces. C means calyces. Medullary, all the calyces opens into.
Renal pelvis.
Renal pelvis.
Yeah. Okay. So have you seen this particular? Have you noticed this particular place? What is that? Cortex or medulla? With the arrow mark which I am showing.
Medulla, sir.
No, that is cortex. If you say all white is cortex, you see here. The cortex only that is. Where it is?
Between two
Yeah.
pyramids.
The cortical projections between the medulla. The cortex extends between the medulla, which is very, very important question it is. That examiner like these kind of things. The columns of Bertini, ducts of Bellini. Now we are talking about columns of Bertini. We discussed about ducts of Bellini yesterday. Okay, that will come again now. Cortex extends between medullary pyramids, renal pyramids. What do you say it as? Columns of Bertini. What we call it as? Columns of Bertini. Cortical projections between the medulla. We can say cortical projections between the medulla, or the portion of the cortex present between the medulla, whatever it is, this particular area, this one, this one, this one, likewise. Okay, so that is very important. I'll show you, I'll mark that area, the this one, which is there between the two green one. So what is that? Columns of Bertini.
Columns of Bertini.
That is very important. Why I'm saying again and again, that is going to be the question here. Columns of Bertini. Okay, so where it is between the medulla, projections between the medulla, the columns of
Medullary
Bertini.
pyramid.
Okay, next, what the kidney contain? The kidney contain. Each kidney contain.
Nephron.
Each kidney contain. Yes. 1 million nephrons.
Nephron.
Yeah. Nephrons are present. The units of kidney are said to be the nephrons. The complex tubular structures we call nephrons, which is going to be our hero of this particular chapter. We have to discuss more about nephron. We call them as functional units.
Functional and structural units.
Yeah.
Of kidney.
Kidney. Okay. So then each nephron has two portions. Let's talk about the nephron. Each nephron has two portions. Okay. The two portions of the nephron. What are the two portions? One is glomerulus. One is the glomerulus and the another is the renal tubule. Okay. The glomerulus and the renal tubule. What is glomerulus? I think I asked a question yesterday to you. What is glomerulus? Is it belongs to blood vascular system or excretory system?
That first.
Yeah, people have blood vascular system. Glomerulus is a tuft of capillaries. Glomerulus is a tuft of capillaries, we can say here. Okay, tomorrow we'll see from where the glomerulus is coming. Actually, I explained as a basic yesterday, but tomorrow again we'll see that from where this particular arised actually. That a tuft of, we can say here, formed of afferent arteriole. Very good, very good.
Afferent arteriole.
Afferent arteriole, a fine branch of then it will go in the form of efferent arteriole. This is afferent arteriole. I am asking here, what is the meaning? What I mean, a fine branch of, I asked here, from where it is coming exactly? Heart.
Renal artery to renal arteriole.
Let's come in order. Left ventricle of the heart, okay. Left systemic
Left
aorta.
systemic aorta, renal artery.
Very good. Okay.
Renal arteriole.
Renal artery. Renal,
renal arteriole,
renal arteriole. Okay,
afferent
so
arteriole.
a messenger of heart. From the heart, left systemic aorta, dorsal aorta, renal artery, renal arteriole, and afferent arteriole, and then it form a bunch of capillary network. We call it as glomerulus. Okay, glomerulus we say here. Where this particular bunch of network is going to be accommodated?
Bowman's capsule.
Yes, very good. It is going to be accommodated in the Bowman's capsule. Bowman's capsule belongs to nephron. Nephron means
Nephron.
excretory system. It is a combination of both excretory system and blood vascular system. What kind of relation they have? All the things. Glomerulus along with, what is this? Glomerulus. So we are writing at one place, but you should know the difference. Bowman's capsule and glomerulus is collectively called as, you might have a 2 marks or 1 mark question in your previous classes. Malpighian body.
Yes, sir. Malpighian body. 10th class.
Yeah. Or renal corpuscle, we say here. Malpighian body or renal corpuscle. Malpighian body or renal corpuscle, we can say it as that. But you should know the difference. Glomerulus coming from heart. Bowman's capsule is a part of nephron. That you people should know the difference between the two. Okay. So along with that, which I'll go through the remaining parts of the nephron also. Today, at least we can complete the parts of the nephron. Let me show you. Bowman's capsule, which opens into?
Sir, no, sir. PCT.
Yeah, Bowman's capsule opens into proximal convoluted tubule, and proximal convoluted tubule opens into
Descending limb of
Henle's loop. Henle's loop.
Descending limb of Henle.
Yeah, descending and ascending limb of Henle's loop, which that opens into distal convoluted tubule. Yeah, distal convoluted tubule. These names you people need to remember because these are going to play a vital role here. Distal convoluted tubule. That don't say DCT, PCT till you adapt to the particular language. Okay, so you people need to practice. After that, I know the people, after all the completion of the whole topic, sir, what is PCT? We use it for so many times. People will ask like this. So that's why initially I don't use the word called PCT. I'll write the total, proximal convoluted tubule. Here also I'm writing the total, distal convoluted tubule. We call it as distal convoluted tubule. Okay, next. This is descending limb of Henle's loop. Why you called it as descending limb?
Better to lower, no, sir. Up to down.
What is up to down? What
Top
is
to bottom coming.
how can you say like that? Okay, now where I am going, top to bottom or bottom to top?
The flow.
Yeah, very good. Flow. Fluid is moving down. Renal fluid, so-called fluid, whatever we are talking about, or we are going to talk about from tomorrow onwards. This is a fluid flow. So I think you came to understand why it is called like so. Okay. Then now let's talk about this. Ascending limb of Henle's loop. This is called ascending limb of Henle's loop. Okay, ascending limb of Henle's loop. Okay. So then just showing here, and one more we need to see, that is initial collecting duct. Or you can use a word directly according to NCERT, collecting duct. Initial collecting duct. Okay. What is this line that we have to talk about, that we need to discuss about? Okay. And just as an introductory version, we can say proximal convoluted tubule, Bowman's capsule, distal convoluted tubule, and collecting duct or straight tube, initial collecting duct, which we can say. So the Malpighian corpuscle means, who is Malpighian corpuscle? Bowman's capsule plus glomerulus. PCT means proximal convoluted tubule and distal convoluted tubule of the nephron are situated in the cortical region. That is the reason we made a line here. You see this? We made a line. Means this is the cortex region. Okay, where does the Henle's loop is present?
Medulla.
Medulla. If you want, I'll show here the original in the kidney also. If, oh my God. So if you see, this is the kidney, and let's draw a particular medullary region. This is the medulla, renal pyramid. Now let's talk about our nephron. Bowman's capsule, where it is?
Cortex.
Cortex. Proximal convoluted tubule, where it is? Where it is? In the cortex only.
Cortex.
Henle's loop, where it is?
Medulla.
Medulla. This is medulla, isn't it? Renal pyramid.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Medullary
And this
pyramid.
is cortex. Okay, the red line. You see the red line. Okay, next. Distal convoluted tubule, where it is?
Cortex.
Cortex.
Yeah. Initial collecting duct, where it is?
Cortex.
Cortex and medulla.
Both cortex and medulla. This is the line we use it to draw everywhere in the text even. Okay, so this is the line I drawn. See this. This is the line. That means that is indicating that who is present in the cortex. So whatever these kind of arrangement, then means here, these kind of nephrons which we are showing, these are called juxtamedullary nephrons. We can say these are called juxtamedullary nephron. Sir, how do we recognize juxtamedullary nephron? Juxtamedullary nephrons are going to be longer Henle's loop. Is it there?
Yes, sir.
Longer Henle's loop. There is a cortical nephron also, which are present only in the cortex. Okay. So only in the cortex, cortical nephrons, we can say, cortical nephrons, and 80% of nephrons of our body are cortical nephrons only. Sir, leaving cortical nephrons, why you are focusing more on these juxtamedullary nephrons? That means here, though they are less in number, juxtamedullary nephron, though they are less in number, they are very much helpful for the absorption of water. The juxtamedullary nephrons are going to be very much helpful for the absorption of water with the help of a mechanism called counterflow mechanism. That counterflow mechanism we are going to discuss in the next class here, the counterflow mechanism. But today I'll end up this class with the completion of the blood vessel itself. Let me complete the blood vessel as I promised to you to say the sequence today. The yesterday's sequence continuation. Okay, now we don't have any problem here to recognize this kind of a structure, isn't it? What is this black one?
Loop of Henle. Loop of Henle.
Yeah, Henle's loop. So then collecting duct. Okay. Now let's talk about our blood vessels. I am starting from heart. I am starting from the heart, left systemic aorta, and all the particular diagrams, positions which I am drawing here definitely don't match with a human being. You please try to understand. Sir, heart is here, nephron is here, likewise. Sir, heart is smaller, nephron is larger. How can you draw that? Don't go for logics. Only logic is our understanding. We need to understand. Okay, came from left ventricle, isn't it? Left ventricle. Okay, let me write the sequence here also. Then after that, left systemic aorta. Left systemic aorta. Then dorsal aorta. dorsal aorta. Okay, left systemic aorta, dorsal aorta. Then after it enters in the kidney in the form of
renal artery.
Renal artery.
renal artery. Renal artery. Okay. Renal artery further branched
Renal
into
arteriole.
renal
Renal
arteriole. Yeah, very good. Renal arteriole. Renal arteriole. Renal artery onwards, we can say
Afferent arteriole.
renal artery onwards, we can say we entered in the kidney. Okay, afferent arteriole. Then,
Glomerulus.
yeah, glomerulus. How you came out?
Efferent.
Yeah, this is afferent arteriole. This
Afferent
is
artery.
renal arteriole, afferent arteriole, efferent
Efferent.
arteriole, and this is glomerulus. So I'm writing here, no matter. Renal artery, renal arteriole, renal arteriole. Then after afferent arteriole, afferent arteriole. For your understanding, we said this as RA, this is AA, the diagram. Okay, afferent arteriole opens into
Glomerulus.
glomerulus. Then I said it as a G, and then after we came out in the form of efferent,
Afferent arteriole.
efferent arteriole, efferent arteriole.
Afferent.
After that, efferent arteriole is going to form a network of blood vessels above on. Now you need to say above on.
Apex region. PCT, PCT.
Yeah, very good. Above on the PCT and DCT, they formed a network. Above on the PCT and DCT.
For filtration, sir.
Yeah. For what, that we have to discuss tomorrow itself. But just to follow the blood vessel, that's all. Okay. That's why your previous knowledge should not interfere these things. Okay. So that already Gayatri said, and the efferent arterial, where it go, PCT start చేసింది కాదు కదండి. That your previous knowledge should not interfere. We just, our topic here, heart to heart. We have 3 sequences. Little I said one sequence yesterday, and the second sequence we are going. The same sequence tomorrow, we have to explain total 3 sequences. Total chapter we can say is explained in the form of 3 sequences. Okay, consider this is the first sequence. The remaining 2 sequences I'll explain tomorrow. This is the first sequence, heart to heart. So I started from left ventricle of the heart. Let me see where I'll go. Efferent arteriole and peritubular network is formed. Okay, and one more, that is vasa recta. What is that? Vasa recta. Peritubular network is in the form of vasa recta. That side is busy. That's why I'm going this side. Vasa recta opens into, this is vasa recta. Where does the vasa recta present?
Loop of Henle.
Yeah, on the loop of Henle.
On the loop of Henle.
What is the common in peritubular net and vasa recta? Chalo. Both are blood vessels.
Blood.
Yeah, that is very important. You have to recognize. Totally, we are talking about blood vessels only. Okay, afferent arteriole, glomerulus, efferent arteriole, peritubular net above on. Tomorrow onwards, you have to answer everything like. Yeah, vasa recta is above on
Henle loop.
Henle loop. Okay, then all the gate open into renal venule. This is renal venule. Renal venule opens into renal vein. Renal venule opens into renal vein. Renal vein opens into postcaval vein. Renal vein opens into postcaval vein. Okay, postcaval vein opens into heart.
Right atrium.
Yeah, very good. Right atrium of the heart. So today I just shown to you the journey of blood vessel. That's all. journey of blood vessel from heart to heart. Okay, and this is not a new thing even. I'm not going to say this is first time I'm explaining, but you didn't recognize it, that's all. All blood vessels that between the heart to heart, the via kidney. Okay, so many times we did this in the previous chapter even. So many times I'll remember you. Wait a minute, just see this. Systemic circulation we called it as. From the left ventricle, what is that blood vessel who arises from the left ventricle? Left systemic aorta. Then after what we said?
Body parts.
It is getting capillarized, and all the capillaries are going to form, all the capillaries, venules will form, and all the capillaries are going to form vein, and vein goes to heart, isn't it? This was a journey from left ventricle to right atria. What do you call it as?
Systemic circulation.
Yeah, same I explained. Just you see here. Just you see the diagram. See the diagram. The same I explained. I started from left ventricle. Okay. Then I end up at
Heart.
Isn't it or not?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's all. The same I think explained. Okay, do one thing. Let it say faster that where I get started exactly from there. Left ventricle. Okay.
Left systemic aorta.
Wait,
Left
let me reduce the size where we have to write the full sequence. Okay, left ventricle.
Left systemic aorta.
Left systemic aorta. Next.
Dorsal aorta.
Dorsal aorta.
Dorsal aorta.
Dorsal aorta.
Renal artery.
Renal artery.
Renal arteriole.
Renal arteriole.
Afferent arteriole.
Afferent arteriole.
Glomerulus.
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 Efferent arteriole.
Peritubular network.
Peritubular net and vasa recta. Peritubular net and vasa recta. Okay. Peritubular net and vasa recta travel towards
Renal vein.
renal venule. Renal venule. Then renal vein. Okay, then renal vein.
Postcaval vein.
Wait.
Inferior vena cava.
Renal vein. Then after post caval vein.
Right atrium.
Yeah, post caval vein, inferior vena cava, nothing but right atrium. Chalo, we reached actually, isn't it or not? Okay, so that means exactly when I want to say here, when I want to say that where we made some change here, where we made the change, this area means left ventricle, left systemic aorta. Then after we said whatever the blood capillaries, all we maintain here, dorsal aorta, renal artery onwards. Means here renal artery, renal arteriole, all the things it was mentioned. Just if you understand this bigger fact, the topic is going to be very easy to you. For you people, the topic is going to be very, very easy. Okay, so that only problem, as I already said to you, people will confuse in this area because of their previous knowledge. Okay, that's why the full session I took here to make you to understand the difference between the blood vascular system and excretory system. In NCERT, it was given with great color. What is Bowman's capsule? What is glomerulus? Whenever people start observing Bowman's capsule and Bowman's capsule. Okay, this is the Bowman's capsule. And these are the blood capillaries. Whenever the people start observing Bowman's capsule belongs to excretory system. Glomerulus, this is glomerulus. Glomerulus belongs to blood vascular system, who is coming from the heart, who is going to the heart. If you understand this well, no doubt about that, you people are going to rock in the coming days. The applications of the excretory system definitely is going to be very easy to you. Okay.